Good day, welcome to YACAP's first podcast, Inside the Carceral, where we will talk about persons deprived of liberty and such things that happen inside and outside prisons, jails, and penitentiaries, like of their families, of the incarceration lives, and so forth. Without further ado, let us start our first episode, Episode 1, Their Families, an interview with a family of a PDL. YACAP's December theme is all about Christmas culture inside jails. And what does Christmas mean to most of us? Obviously, it's all about families, the bondings and reunions and such. Undeniably, as one of our family members face imprisonment, societal effects like prejudice and discrimination boil down to the family members outside of jail. Hence, we interview a family of a PDL, unveil their unjust experiences, and appeal to the society to be more forgiving and empathetic. And alongside, we seek to understand prison management and PDLs themselves through their family stories. And so, let us start. Okay, first to introduce myself, I am Christian Salazar, a YACAP committee member, and I will be your host for today's episode. I have two guests on my list. My co-worker, Mr. Jin Karl. Hi, Mr. Jin Karl.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. And our executive director, Miss Melanie Joy. Miss Melanie Joy, greet our audience.
Hi, good day to everyone.
Okay, so I have a set of questions here and I expect you to answer this. So I think mauna si Mr. Jin Karl and then si Miss Melanie Joy na lang yung susunod para yung interview natin ay organized and synchronous. Okay, so Mr. Jin Karl, for our first question, basic information lang po muna tayo. What is your name and how many years have you been separated sa family member mo na naka-imprison?
So, yes, hello everyone. And my name is Jin Karl Dela Cruz and I have been separated with my family member, which is my cousin, for around only a year. It was back in 2018. He was imprisoned back in 2018.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so actually medyo recent pa yun, diba? Kasi 2 years
Yes.
pa lang. Ikaw naman, Miss Melanie Joy. So, same question lang din. Basic information, name and how many years separated ka dun sa family member mo?
Okay, hi to you, Christian, and to all our listeners. I am Melanie Joy. And for the question, I wasn't really separated sa kanya by years because 4 months lang kasi we built him out as soon as our chance came in. And him, I am talking about my father who had been imprisoned now for a month. Disclaimer lang, to some of our listeners na may different stance for this kind of sentiments or issues. For us kasi, in a criminal justice, rehabilitation should be more important than punishment. Punishments are like tyrannizing the people kasi and obliterating the need of people to be good citizens. Pero, ayun nga, by doing this podcast with the theme na talking about sa families ng PDLs and their experiences and so forth does not necessarily reflect that we are tolerating criminalities and such alike things, but rather we just uphold the need and right to humanize PDLs and their families na rin. So, ayun, that will be all for me.
That's true, Miss Melanie Joy. And yun nga yung dahilan kaya nabuo ang YACAP PH. And ang ganda rin, no, kasi kayong dalawa, same na may na-imprison na family member, pero different from each other. Kaya marami tayong point of view na makita. So, eto gusto ko rin itanong to eh. What is your initial reaction nung nalaman nyo na, or nakita nyo na na-aresto yung family member nyo? So, kay Mr. Jin Karl ulit tayo magsimula.
So yun, yes. Yung initial reaction ko sa arrest niya, the problem is, literal na 1 year ko pa nalaman yung literal na pagkalabas niya. Tapos parang nagsisinungaling pa siya nakakagaling niya sa abroad. Actually, I myself nagtaka ako bakit wala siya na 1 taon. Tapos parang walang sinasabi yung mga Tapos parang I really sense the presence ng mga family members na parang there is something wrong. Parang sobrang nung tingin. Parang they really look at my cousin like he's some kind of demon. And the
Mm.
family kasi is very, very religious. Yes, and well, actually, that that event really made me develop my actually, for the viewers that don't agree with my sentiments and view on this, because of because of how my prison got because of my cousin got imprisoned, I developed a resentment towards religion because
Mhm.
nadamay siya sa sistema, and he was really expected to for to force himself in that kind of system, and he was being pressured na para kailangan niya na maging mabait kagad ganun kasi kakagaling niya sa prison. Parang walang real na na rehabilitation process. Tsaka he wasn't giving a rehabilitation process talaga. Kasi yun nga, ang sinasabi kasi sa kanya, you should just go to church. You should just take a role in the church. And that infuriated me so much because behind my family's backs, I have been secretly hating on the religion. I will just not say the name of the religion, but I have been secretly hating and protesting in that religion because people like my cousin suffered because of what happened. Right now he has a family, and it saddens me because parang pinilit lang siya sa pamilya na yun. Kasi parang pinipressure kasi siya kagad maging mabait, and there is no real development when it comes to the rehabilitation process. He just got crushed by the system, and it really hurts me na ganun yung ginawa sa kanya. And yung tingin, especially yung mga tita ko, treated him like a demon. Ayun, that's my view and my initial reaction.
Sad to hear. And oo nga, tama. Kasi from what I heard, parang minamadali kasi nila yung solution. Pero hindi naman talaga, 'di ba? It should be long-term rehabilitation para matulungan talaga yung mga tao na nabiktima nga. How about you, Miss Melanie Joy?
So as for me naman, if I would like metaphorize it, it's an endless darkness because it was really too complicated back then or initially. And the only thing na I am sure of is the sadness and melancholia na I was feeling. We were too dependent din kasi dun sa father ko, like sa finances, sa pag-drive from here to there, sa pag-celebrate ng mga social events, and sa lahat ng mga genderized tasks and roles na assigned for men na pinoportray ng mga traditionalists. And ayun, talagang we were all dependent sa kanya. Tapos seeing him inside jail or with handcuffs really makes me feel mad sa mundo na bakit kailangan pa mangyari yun sa family ko, and like it makes me feel insecure as well. It makes me feel terrified and feel sad because we are grieving for a person na andito lang naman pero can't be with us for we don't know until when. And then the idea of prisons and jails or correctionals for me back then is like unimaginably far from where I stand on it right now. It's much easier kasi na like to antagonize those people when shallow lang ang alam mo. You just know they are bad people, they are lawbreakers, and that they deserve what is happening sa kanila. But now I learned about strain theory na poverty is one of the core drivers pala ng thief or robbery, especially yung mga nasa news na nagnanakaw ng diaper or pagkain from grocery stores. And then also I learned na there's this criminal justice existing na illegitimate punishments and state controllable conditions like of overcongestion, sexual harassments towards women, or tortures, gang wars that may lead to death or such things are downright neglect to human rights, and such things as in super dami pa. Kaya if you guys want to know more, subscribe and stay tuned to YACAP PH, and even join our growing team na rin para we work out the spirit of volunteerism while learning a lot. So ayun, that's for me.
Okay, thank you, Miss Melanie Joy. Next question is, nag-acquire ba yung family yun ng service from an attorney to defend your family member's case? And gaano kahirap yung process, and how did it go? Okay, Sir Jin Karl muna tayo mag-start.
So yun po. The thing is, when I said na literal na 1 year later kung nalaman, the only details I actually knew is yung kung bakit siya na in prison or yung nangyari in prison. Pero yung process na nakuha kung may lawyer, wala alam base sa pagkakalam ko. Hindi rin nakakuha talaga ng lawyer because for starters, mahirap lang talaga yung pamilya po nila. And they couldn't really get a lawyer talaga. Ayun, that's it.
How about you naman, Miss Melanie Joy? How did it go? Nag-acquire ba kayo ng attorney to defend your father in this case?
Okay, so sa part naman namin, yes, we acquired service from attorneys or lawyers. Ayun, we are fortunate enough na we can afford private attorneys and we can subscribe to a famous law firm na talagang can give us what justice we deserve. So, ayun, oo. Pero on the other, let us look on those PDLs din naman na kahit minimum yung case or like maliit lang yung bail needed para ma-achieve nila yung freedom. Or like magko-cost lang ng 6,000. Di pa rin sila makalabas and talagang nagsasuffer sila through that inhumane conditions inside rather than sacrificing 6,000 na for their freedom. And from this, we can see talaga, and yung sa kinwentuhan ni Jin Karl na hindi maka-afford din, talagang we can see na our justice system is a classist and elitist one. So ayun, yun lang naman.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Melanie Joy. And para dito sa next question natin, like, we all know na may pandemic ngayon and hindi tayo pwedeng pumunta sa prison para bumisita. Pero before the pandemic, how many times a week do you visit your family member in a prison, Mr. Jin Karl?
So yun, since we weren't really directly connected and it was kept a secret, we really couldn't visit. Pero rather, the only one who was actually allowed to visit is yung nanay ko. Nakapag-visit siya. Pero ako wala talaga akong alam. Wala. Na nangyari yun during 2018. So yun, that is my answer.
Yung time ba yun, nag-try ba kayo na i-contact siya? I mean, obviously hindi nyo alam noong time na yun. Pero nag-try ba kayo na i-contact siya kahit na just wondering kung ano nangyayari sa kanya?
Actually, the thing is sa year na yon, we really hindi rin kasi namin masyado siya na kausap, plus hindi rin kasi ako ganun ka-close sa cousin ko na yon. And yun nga, well, my mother isn't really that close dun sa pinsan ko na yon. So we really didn't know until a year later where I just eavesdropped on a conversation sa mga tita at tito ko, ganun.
So kita talaga natin, 'di ba, yung pagtatago kasi merong stigma against dun sa mga tao na nanggaling sa prison. Kaya talagang tinatago nila, 'di ba? How about you, Miss Melanie Joy? How many times a week do you visit your father sa prison?
Yun, yung system naman kasi dito, kasi my father was imprisoned lang sa town jail namin. So talagang everyday, talagang pumupunta kami or like may representative basta na pupunta sa kanya. For that 1 whole month, we ensure na kaya namin maglaan ng 1 hour dalaw per day. So ayun, we cook food and then we buy soft food as well para dun sa ibang nasa loob para makakain din sila. Kasi yung system na parang pinoportray dun sa precise jail na yun, kapag walang dalaw na may dalang food for you, wala kang food all throughout. So, either nagsishare sila ng small amount of food or wala talaga silang makakain. So, ayun, knowing nga na we are fortunate enough compared to those people na nandoon sa loob. So, ayun, talagang we maximize our benefits ba, our privilege at ma-share sa kanila kung ano man yung kaya namin as kami. Yun lang.
That's very good to hear. Buti na lang andun yung opportunity sa inyo. Okay, so for our next question, paano yung relationship nyo with your family? How was it? And to branch from it din, paano yung interaction nyo with your family members nung time nung nalaman nyo na na-arrest nga yung said person? Mr. Jin Karl?
Ayun. So, let me tell a short flashback, a short story about that. Ayun, when he got released, dun lang namin, as I told kanina, dun nga lang namin nalaman. Pero, there was one thing na nakakainis talaga sa nangyari. It is because, yung relationship ko sa family ko, it really got so much worse. And yung tita ko kasi yung anak niya kasi na imprison because of drugs. And yun nga, it really got worse because yung lahat ng kapatid niya, in other words mga tita ko at tito ko, really looked down on her kasi yung parenting niya, tinignan siya na horrible parent because of the fact na yun nga, napunta sa prison yung isang anak at yung isa pwede pang masunod, pwede pang gumaya, ganun. Kasi parang yung na-raise niya lang na matino is yung panganay, yung dalaga, yung halos 24 years old na babae, yung pangalawa, yung middle child. Ayun. So, dun medyo nagkaroon kasi ng away talaga. Tapos parang nagsabi kasi yung pinsan ko na he is really against the system of yung religion nga. Kasi nga, parang pinapamukha kasi na sino yung masama. Kasi pinipilit nyo lang na bumait ako. I'm just living my life. I want to do what I want. Pero ito kayo, naninisi kayo na parang demonyo ako. And he said some really bad words to really emphasize how mad he was. And I actually, for starters, I was kinda glad deep inside because besides me, there was actually someone that was actually revolting against the system of religion and the system here in the Philippines. I was glad because in our family, one thing is you cannot have an opinion, and in the religion that I am with, you are really not allowed to have an opinion. So it really made me glad that someone actually has a voice in those situations because it is taught that you should never talk back even to other people, and especially to the church and especially to the system. You cannot talk back. You're not allowed to participate in political things. You're not allowed to participate in anything. You just have to follow. So that's why I was happy deep inside, although I was also sad because he was raging out. Well, at first I really thought he was a threat because yes, exactly, he went to prison at first. But then I started sympathizing with my cousin because of what happened. That's the reason why little by little I am starting to hate my family because of what happened. Because back in his childhood, he wasn't even treated that well because he had different interests, and just because he wasn't supposed to succumb to the system and all. He was supposed to succumb to the system. Pero yung nangyari is parang ibang bata talaga siya. Iba yung pag-iisip niya. Kaya parang ayun. So he really hindi niya na yung expectation ng parents niya. So he went into drugs and all. And it was really sad when he really questioned everyone, lahat ng tito ko about sa pagtatrato. Kasi grabe yung parang ang malicious lang ng treatment. And I really got mad sa family ko for not really being active sa development and just using the excuse na kailangan mo lang pumunta sa sumamba, ganun. Kailangan mo mag-church. Ayun. No real solution kasi sa bansa. Kaya it's really sad. No real solution. Yun lang.
Sa naririnig ko, parang hindi siya that supportive dun sa cousin mo. Parang binibigyan nila yung responsibility sa church and hindi sa kanila para tulungan yung cousin mo.
Yes, exactly. Hindi talaga parang fina-focus yung totoong solution eh. Parang nililive sa church pero wala talaga nangyari. He really doesn't even want to go there.
Tsaka ang bad din na may sinasabihan nila nung demonyo nga, diba? Kino-connotate agad nila. Ginojudge agad nila yung tao dahil lang nagkamali. When in fact sa church, diba, tinuturo na we should forgive kapag nagkamali.
Yes.
Mm. How about you, Miss Melanie Joy naman? How was your relationship with your family? And ano yung interaction nyo nung nangyari yung arrest?
I cannot really give you the full details of yung interaction namin nung nangyari yung arrest because super traumatizing rin for our part, and medyo confidential pa rin siya as at the moment. Pero yung relationship namin within our family is that ayun, parang masasabi ko na that whole experience is a bittersweet and really crazy experience. Bitter nga kasi it was full of sadness and uncontrollable life events. Crazy kasi it literally drove me crazy. Like, I've spent nights after nights or even days na I would just cry because I cannot accept the fact that we would go through this kind of challenge as a family. And on the other, it was sweet kasi it was also the time na we all realized our father's huge worth and part in our family. And we loved him even more. We appreciated his whole existence. And parang na-struck sa amin na family is really important talaga, na you would do everything for your family. Na you can accept everything as long as you have your family. So ayun, I guess that whole experience also made our family stronger and closer and more appreciative of one another. Like how we loved each other more than we loved one another before the imprisonment happened. So ayun.
Okay,
Yun lang.
thank you, Miss Melanie Joy. Kay Sir Jin Karl, na katulad nga kinuwento mo kanina, we all know na may mga bad derogatory and discriminative statements na sinasabi dun sa cousin mo dahil nga dun sa nangyari. Pero how about you? Naka-receive ka ba ng derogatory or discriminative statements na galing sa ibang tao?
So, hindi talaga kasi for starters, sobrang secret talaga. Kasi parang yung ginawa kasi ng family ko, para safe lahat ng mga nag-aaral pa or yung mga nagtatrabaho, para safe, sinikret talaga nila. Parang he was like the sacrificial lamb. Parang ganyan yung trato sa kanya. Para hindi maapekto yung mga karir ng mga pinsan kung gano'n. Kasi syempre baka madamay sa trabaho, sa pag-aaral, gano'n. So yun, it was really horrible talaga. Hindi rin kasi nila in-address yung problem nung una pa lang eh. Yun.
Okay. Ikaw naman, Miss Melanie Joy. Did you receive any derogatory statements? May mga narinig ka ba masasamang bagay na directed towards you nung nalaman ng ibang tao yung nangyari?
Well, kung dun sa mga taong nakakakilala talaga sa amin and for my friends, they didn't turn their backs on me. Talagang naging empathetic yung circle ko by the time. Pero outside that, meron kasing news na nag-spark out within our town, and people's comments are, really derogatory and discriminative. At first, I cannot help myself to not stare and dwell with those comments kasi it was legit terrifying and it was legit intriguing to my part kasi I'm the type of person na parang hindi ko pa kayang mag-accept ng mga ganong kinds of comments na talagang downwardly addressed sa family ko or sa akin, ganun. Parang natatakot ako na mag-accept ng ganong comments. So, nung talagang nabasa ko or nakakarinig ako ng mga ganong comments, talagang hindi ko maiwasan na pakinggan or like titigan. Kasi ewan, ang toxic lang din. Pero ayun, hindi ko ma-explain, pero ayun, naka-receive kami ng napakaraming derogatory and discriminative statements from other people na hindi naman namin kilala. Yun lang.
Okay, so alam naman natin, 'di ba? How hard it is na ma-experience yung na-experience natin ngayon. And para rin sa mga audience natin, para din malaman nila, from experiencing this, did something change? Like yung goals niyo sa buhay, may nagbago ba? Did it change? Mr. Jin Karl?
So yun, definitely a lot changed. First of all, of course, I I was usually a person na parang self-centered and all. Self-centered akong tao noon. Tapos nung nakita ko yung problem na yan, nagalit ako and I cried that pain with him. Kasi first things first, ang gusto kong mangyari, hopefully, yung first goal ko talaga for him, and I want to help in his rehabilitation process. First things first, I really hope na I could actually get to do a business and support him because first, I want to get him out of the family. I want him to live somewhere far away from them because they are so toxic. I want him to move away from them. And I want him to live happily kasama ng asawa niya. And ang sad because hindi sila nakakuha ng formal wedding because tinatrato nga siyang parang demonyo ng mga family members ko eh. And of course I might not have any real money right now. Of course, still as much as possible, I want to help him in his rehabilitation process completely because I'm really mad na parang inaasa na lang nila sa church, ganon. I want to move him out sa family para sureball na yun nga, maging happy siya sa mental state niya. Siyempre, may pamilya na siya, although parang still he probably is happy right now kasi nagkaroon na siya ng anak and all. Pero still, the fact na it really didn't sit well with me na parang na-fix lang ng ganon-ganon lang. It would be better for me rin na he moves out of there and I help him. And also, of course, matulungan ko rin siya of course, I hope na I could help him get sa education din niya. Hindi rin siya nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral because of sa sitwasyon. Of course, poor sila. I want to help him when I get to the point na I have a good paying job. Of course, I want to help him kasi it's really sad na hindi man lang tinignan siya as equals. Parang demonyo talaga yung tingin eh. Ganon. Ayun, that's it.
Okay. For you naman, Miss Melanie Joy.
It changed the totality of my life because back then, yung thought ng jail sa akin, parang it's very terrifying, and the imagination of confinement is a trigger to my paranoia, mainly because the older people made me conceive an evil picture nga of jail, prison, criminals, inmates, PDLs, and so forth. And like the media also portrayed how intrinsic wickedness is to those people. However, yun ngang sudden scenario na nangyari sa family namin has really changed my outlook drastically, making me even advocate for the rights of these once monstrous people I thought were. So ayun, my father was in prison for a month, which honestly felt like centuries. It was really unbearably painful, and the thought of having a parent inside jail is already a ton of burden, still not adding up the trauma, anxiety for future dangers, financial constraints, and brutal uncensored comments of the society. So ayun, yung father ko kasi inside jail, parang nag-initiate din siya ng parang ano ba yun? Parang prayer session something. Kasi very religious din yung both of my parents. And then ayun, parang na-inspire ako kasi despite of where he is, parang na-uphold niya pa rin yung mission niya sa buhay. So ayun, I thought of advocating this kind of mission, ganun. Kaya I kicked off this organization, YACAP PH, para talagang ma-uphold din yung inspiration ko na nakuha ko sa father ko, and ma-uphold din yung kung ano yung nararanasan ko ngayon. So ayun, going back, my conscience snapped when I realized how simple the prisoners and inmates' desires really are. Like most of them are victims of poverty, where food is more important than freedom, while yung iba ay victims of lack of education or miseducation, urban migration, exploitation, and of which turned them into criminals. Naalala ko nung binibisita pa namin yung dad ko inside jail, meron sa crowd na 20-year-old, merong readmitted jailer like for the third time na ata kasi lagi siyang pinagbibintangan. Maraming drug pushers, pero one consistent or one undeniable fact na binasto nila sa akin ay, ayun, parang they were all good to me. And they even made me an artificial bonsai as a birthday gift, and tens to hundreds of lift because I told them how stressful college is. And like ayun, I realized na these prisoners are jailed for a reason. Hence, they shouldn't be labeled with their victims or like for their crime names forever. Ironic as it may, but the future of these people should be painted away from their crimes, and the prison per se is an enough arena to pay their sins. And like their goodness to me made me remember Rizzu. He said that a man in the state of nature is naturally content or good, and it was only civilization which confined, enslaved, corrupted, and made man unnatural. So ayun, naniniwala ako na deep down those PDLs na yun ay parang there's the naturality of goodness within them, and like yung sinabi ko kanina na strain theory, yun yung nag-push sa kanila para makagawa ng things na they do not want naman talaga and they do not desire on the first place. But of course, may mga exceptions pa rin. Pero for the majority na nandoon na parang naka-interact ko, ganun yung case sa kanila. So, all in all, the experience of imprisonment made me realize that my personal struggle is not separated from the struggles of the urban poor, the marginalized, the oppressed, and like the greater Filipino masses. And the society made it easy to criminalize the poor just because they hold no power or like they're powerless. They even demonize these criminals by perpetuating a culture of hate where their rights are crushed and crumpled, but like masked on a label of a deserved punishment, ganun, yung mga tortures, yung mga wars or hierarchy sa loob, sinasabi nila na deserve yun, which is not, kasi parang it's like parang neglect ng human rights. So ayun, so sa advocacy ng YACAP, it is not about defending the innocence of the inmates or eradicating their crimes, but is mostly about fighting for their rights, recognizing that PDLs are also humans shelled with laws, hence protected by it as well, and unveiling the system of oppression which victimize and marginalize them, and breaking the stigma of prison and everything behind and inside it. Ayun, yun lang.
Okay, thank you, Miss Melanie Joy. So, for our next question naman, what is your dream para sa bansa natin in terms of the carceral system? Kasi narinig ko naman na it's not perfect talaga. So, what can you say? Mr. Jin Karl, ikaw na po mauna.
Sige. So, I guess yung dream ko for the country in terms sa ganyang sistema, I would say first that we really need to rather solve the actual problem pagdating sa, instead of imprisoning the criminals and making sure na parang treating them like mas low pa sa tao. We should just focus on the rehabilitation. Let's make it more accessible for all. Kasi first of all, ang nagtitrigger talaga ng ganyang bagay is poverty, the system. That's what triggers it. And I hope na kahit hindi, it might not be perfect, but at least let's just do the bare minimum. And kung maging honest ako, this country hasn't really been doing the bare minimum pagdating sa mga ganyang bagay, sa mga PDLs na yan. And I really hope that at some point that term will never exist anymore, because I don't think anyone should be deprived of their liberty. They should still have their rights. But if they have done crimes, they should be able to have rehabilitation. That is the better solution, instead of this system that promotes that they want to actually execute people on the spot that have done crimes. Yes, it is better to have rehabilitation. Although there are crimes such as rape and murder that are very hindi mo rin masasabi kung justifiable ba na magre-rehab, kasi nga syempre it would be sadden sa victim, of course. Pero still, because the system is imperfect, at least we should just aim to have the bare minimum done. Ayun, that's That's it.
For you naman, Miss Melanie Joy, ano yung gusto mong sabihin?
Well, for me, it is to push through with a criminal justice that emphasizes rehabilitation more than punishment. Meron akong nabasa na sabi, if officials in charge of the correctional system have humanizing conditions in the holding facilities at heart, major reforms in the criminal justice system could take place that could give prison inmates a chance at rehabilitation in a meaningful life after imprisonment. So ayun, talagang nakadepende kasi talaga dun sa mga otoridad na humahawak sa correctional system kung ano ba yung magiging future ng mga nasa loob nito. At kung talagang ini-aim natin ay ang isang mabuting society na may mga mabubuting tao, edi i-aim natin na magkaroon ng mabuting correctional system na talagang nagpapabuti dun sa mga nakagawa ng mga kamalian sa buhay. And also, I have read that what are placed behind bars are not just the physical bodies, but the fundamental human rights of prisoners as well. Ito yung pinopoint out ko kanina na hindi kailangan ng mga illegitimate punishment sa loob. Kasi nga, yung mere thought of being inside the prison is already an ample punishment. And like, yun nga, parang hindi rin naman tayo dapat talagang mag-focus sa punishment per se, but rather rehabilitation para talagang mas makamtan natin or ma-achieve natin yung isang good na society. And like prisoners, well viewed as sinners against society, are human beings too, something neglected by many. As Fyodor, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, said that a society should be judged not by how it treats its outstanding citizens, but by how it treats its criminals. So ayun, isang quotation na ililib ko sa inyong lahat na para ipag-reflectan. I don't know the right term. Pero ayun, ulitin ko lang ulit, a society should be judged not by how it treats its outstanding citizens, but by how it treats its criminals. So ayun, sabay-sabay tayo mag-reflect sa quotation na ito. At ayun, sa paraang iyon ay ma-realize din natin kung ano nga ba yung totoong sitwasyon or kondisyon na kinakaharap ng mga PDLs dito sa ating bansa. Ayun lang yun sa akin.
Okay, wow, what a wonderful quote galing kay Miss Melanie Joy. And very, very true talaga. Totoo talaga yun. So, para naman sa mga viewers din natin, ay sa mga listeners natin na nakikinig ngayon, let's just call them na other you. Kasi maybe may mga listeners tayo ngayon na same din yung experience or may family member din sila na nasa kulungan ngayon. So, do you have any message na gusto nyong sabihin sa kanila, any advice? And yun lang, ano yung masasabi nyo para ma-ease yung experience na nararamdaman nila? Magsimula tayo sa iyo, Mr. Jin Karl.
So yun, I guess I'm going to say this na, of course, you couldn't solve the problem na nga na your family member got into prison because of some problems. I would just say the best advice to give is na dapat pagkalabas niya ng prison, ayun, he or she should be focused on rehabilitation talaga. I mean, it's basic human decency to focus on someone's rehabilitation talaga, lalo na sa ganyang sitwasyon. Kasi yung tulad nung sa sitwasyon ko, yung sa pinsan ko, di talaga ni finokus, parang pinilit lang talaga nila na maging mabait, ganon. Parang pinilit lang talaga. It's a false sense of peace. And yun, it's really a false sense of peace that really didn't work. And that's why you should make sure na pagkatapos ng imprisonment na yun, or even if it's during, think of it long term na you should have sa rehabilitation talaga. Yun lang.
Okay. Okay, for you naman, Miss Melanie Joy, any message for our viewers na nakaka-experience din ng ganito?
Okay, so for me, it is that every families go through an uphill battle or like we all have our ups and downs talaga. Pero syempre, not worth of comparing pa rin. But the thing is, familial issues and challenges are inevitable and unavoidable. Even problems sa lives, like independently, talagang we suffer from time to time sa mga uncontrollable life events. And the best thing we could do is like to maximize our voice, knowing now we are the primary source of what is happening inside jails. Maximize our voice in such a sense na we call out the respected authorities to lobby changes and even form and amend some laws for humanization of the carceral system. And of course, amplify the voices ng ating mga PDLs na their rights are worth to be vilified. Another thing is that from a personal level naman, talagang walang saysay yung magkaroon ng pakialam sa mga derogatory and discriminative comments ng ibang tao na outside of your circle naman. Kasi it will only just tear you down eh. Parang wala siyang benefit na mabibigay sa'yo. Like just how I did na parang I took my time staring and dwelling in on those comments when it just gave me nothing but anxiety and overthinking and like this unexplainable moods. And parang butterfly effect din siya sa all the rest of my relationships kasi talagang naapektuhan din yung buong personality ko. So ayun, talagang walang maibibigay na benefit yung magkaroon ng pake dun sa mga derogatory comments ng ibang irrelevant people sa buhay natin. And like isipin na lang natin na those people class too much time thinking of our shits when they have their own shits din naman to be taken care of. So guess kaninang time ang wasted? It's on theirs. So ayun, what is better talaga and healthier is to just make up on your own or like take up some actions na worthy of time and like worthy of effort. Like activism or kicking off a good initiative, being an advocate, or like parang mag-push through with your mental health, yung mga ganung bagay. And lastly, ayun, pa-plug ko na rin, pwedeng-pwede at talagang ini-invite namin kayo na sumali sa YACAP PH para talagang maging stronger ang voice natin at talagang ma-uphold natin yung rights ng PDLs at kung ano pa yung pinaglalaban. Ayun lang.
Okay, thank you sa guest natin na si Mr. Jin Karl and Miss Melanie Joy. Thank you for giving time to participate and be the guest of the first episode of YACAP PH podcast. Thank you very much. So sa mga listeners natin, narinig naman natin yung kwento from Mr. Jin Karl and from Miss Melanie Joy. And I hope na marami kayong lessons na nakuha, and kung may mga listeners man tayo na nakakaranas din ng ganitong experience, like if their loved ones are currently incarcerated or at some point in their life na nangyari din to sa kanila, YACAP PH is here para tulungan kayo and to hear your stories din. So again, thank you to Miss Melanie Joy and to Mr. Jin Karl for participating in the first YACAP PH podcast.
Thank you too, Christian.
Thank you po, Christian. Thank you po.
Okay, so that's it. Our podcast 1 has finally concluded. We in YACAP hope na for our listeners na you have learned a thing or two from this activity. Stay tuned na lang kayo for our second episode, which should be coming in the next few weeks. So ipaplug ko na rin since we are here. Please like our Facebook page, YACAP PH. Our Instagram, follow it at YACAP.ph. Our Twitter, YACAP_PH. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, YACAP PH. Thank you again for listening and goodbye.